Chapter 2, Hope and Peace. Hiroshi was brought by Tsukiko to one of Eri's tens of thousands of studios. Even Hiroshi, who had a doctorate in the academy, had never seen a research facility as advanced as hers. But in the midst of being awed by it, he immediately recognized some important things. It was an NB that had been brought into the workshop when it changed into a female form. Seina's NB. Seina's? No way, Mickey. Hiroshi ran to the NB and looked at it. It looked like a rough engraved sculpture, so it was hard to identify, but Hiroshi sensed Mickey in there. Hold on, I'll explain everything. The man who was with Tenio earlier ran in from a nearby passage wearing a lab coat. I'm sorry for being late. The stubble-faced man grasped Hiroshi's hand gladly. Nice to meet you, I am Hakurio Masaki. I am deeply moved to meet the inventor of an astral AI. Well, it was only a coincidence, really. But even so, please save the small talk and explain what's going on with NB. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just very into AI. Hakurio looked embarrassed. Well, as you can see, it was made of a special biometal. It's a big deal. I've seen this stuff used in a few porn videos, said Hiroshi, remembering them. Oh yeah, that one with the... Just continue the explanation. Tsukiko yelled. Hakurio and Hiroshi started to speak in a low voice as if to keep their discussion a secret. They distanced themselves from Tsukiko. As you know, this NB can change forms. It did this in response to a forced data stream that NB received earlier. Forced data transfer. Then maybe she's alive. This is just a guess, but Tarrant probably noticed that Mickey was a Pinocchio. He must have thought that it was a trap and investigated her AI. So, he uploaded Mickey's character data for investigation, so her astral might be in there? Yes, she seems to have tried to move to NB via a transmission from Tarrant's ship's computer, but unfortunately the data transfer failed. Was the line blocked? I think that was probably the main cause, but it seems that NB also refused. Refused? But her character data isn't that large of a file. The character data of one person is not a large amount compared to the capacity of the NB. It was hard to think that an NB made by Eri would have too low of a capacity to hold such a thing. Actually, it was because NB already had a personality in it with an astral. Is that so? Mickey. Hiroshi slowly dropped his shoulders, but immediately rose up. But Mickey is alive. He had hopeful eyes. Tsukiko, who was concerned about Hiroshi's disappointment, smiled a smile of relief. Yeah. Although she failed to transfer her character data, it looks like there was some information left by her. But Hiroshi, I don't know how to say this to you. Mickey's survival is not definite right now, but at least there's hope, but it's much better than despairing. Thank you, Tsukiko-san, thank you. Hiroshi, you. It's okay. She's a strong girl, and she has a good head on her shoulders. After all, I modeled her after you, Tsukiko. Well, anyways, what I was going to say is, we need your help. The data she left is encrypted, we don't have the password. Tsukiko said, pointing to the research space prepared for Hiroshi. Oh, and NB's astral AI seems to want to talk to you, Hiroshi. Oh, with me. Oh, I understand. When you visit her, you'll be amazed. Please get ready. Hurry, Hiroshi. You too. Tsukiko grabbed Hiroshi by the neck and sat him down into the chair that was nearby. The scar on Seina's heart was not healed by the reunion with Tenio, but it was like a doctor slowly bandaged his wound, and it was beginning to heal. But that didn't mean he forgot about Mickey. I'm going to be in the GP, so I should try not to regret not being able to protect everyone. For Mickey-senpai, I'll do my best, Seina, who came back to the dormitory, swore to himself. Kenneth and Rajo spotted Seina and quickly ran towards him. Oh, Kenneth, Rajo. Seina noticed the two and took a deep bow. I'm sorry about what I said this morning. It's fine. Kenneth and Rajo suddenly started to embrace Seina. However, they were not looking where they were standing, and they were caught up in a stampede of animals that came from the forest. Are both of you okay? Despite getting caught up in the stampede, Seina was completely uninjured. He looked fine compared to Kenneth and Rajo. It's all right. It's nothing compared to those clay drone ink bullets. That's right. Kenneth and Rajo's face seemed happy as they got up and held Seina again. They ran into the dormitory building. When they arrived at the dormitory, they came in front of a big bulletin board. Come on, Sena. Let's see what it says. Is this a room change? On the bulletin was a notice that the freshman students' rooms were being changed. Since this dormitory is a quite old and historical building, it's been designated as a historical site, and it was decided that they would carry out renovations on it when the sophomores ended their practical training. Sena looked at it blankly, but Kenneth and Rajo were excited. He didn't get why they were excited. Kenneth pointed happily at a section that looked like a small island, cut off from the other rooms. Ha ha ha. This is a prime location, close to dining halls and the large public bath facilities and everything else. Kenneth and Rajo once again grabbed Sena and ran into the back of the building with another bulletin board. Because of Kenneth's excitement, Sena hadn't noticed how loud the chatter in the building was. Is there something going on? If you look, you'll understand. Every one of the first-year students gathered there, and they were excited. They were watching something. However, Sena did not see what it was there and too many people in the way. Sena, here we are. Kenneth pulled Sena and went over to a gate installed with a guarded fence. On it was written off limits except for officials. Kenneth, it says entry is prohibited except for officials. Kenneth forcibly pulled Sena, and then Rajo pushed him from behind. It's okay. We are officials. They probably said at the same time. There's Sena. When one of the students said that, all of them started gazing towards Sena, all at the same time. Shit. What a lucky guy. I'm jealous. Why is it only Sena's group that gets to live there? Come on. Kenneth and Rajo pulled Sena and walked backward while waving with cheesy smiles to their classmates who yelled at them. Women came out who worked in the back. They were dressed as researchers. They turned to Sena. Oh, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Please come back this way. Oh no, it's no inconvenience at all. Thank you ladies very much. I'm sure your job is hard work, said Kenneth and Rajo, who followed happily while dragging Sena. Oh, so you're the rumored Sena Yamada. Nice to meet you, I am Hakurin. There was Hakurin in a researcher's lab coat. Her, Karen, Swearin, and Jaikirin smiled at Sena. I should have expected something like this. It's quite wide, isn't it? It's supposed to be a brand new unit. Sena's room was a very large room, and the living room made of timber was very luxurious. Nonetheless, for Sena, who lived in Amain's mansion, it seemed quite narrow and plain. His room at Amain's house was too wide, so Sena placed furniture in a space of about 6 tatami mats in it. However, in the 6 tatami wide room surrounded by walls, it felt oppressive. Well, yeah, that's right. Kenneth, even if it's a new model, there's not much difference with it so far from a functional point of view, so it is reasonable to say that this is just a new standard. New standard. Well, the GP is how it is because it was formed from the military. They didn't place much emphasis on living comfort. But recently, due to the expansion of our home delivery services and population increase due to the expansion of the residential planet area, the scale of the GP itself has been expanded. In other words, they can't do business if they don't use people who are highly skilled. So think of it as them bribing us. Rajo, that's a troublesome explanation. Think of it in other words, like it's food for new recruits. But it's more than that, Sena. You saw it, they have beautiful women. Like her. Kenneth said. Well, yeah, Sena replied to Kenneth in a puzzled manner. Hey, what's up with that kind of response? You rarely get to see such beautiful women. Or is it something else? I know you always get to look at Professor Amain, but don't you think it's awesome? Who needs Amain? Jaikirin is just as beautiful. That's right. But in a completely contrasting way. I wonder where they got such beautiful girls from. They're not people from the academy, and they're probably from some laboratory. I know we can make use of this lucky situation better than that. I agree. Lucky situation? Sena made a mysterious murmur. He understood what Kenneth thought, but just responded to the word lucky with a sense of incongruity. We are currently in an area where general students can't enter, and the area is great. In the immediate neighborhood of our building is the residential facility for our staff. How can you call that anything other than lucky? It is more intentional than lucky, and blatant too. Sana thought of Kariko's face if she knew about this. Kariko confronted Sito in the Jurian mansion near the secret lake, 10,000 kilometers away, that Miki had shown Sana. This is just too blatant. Kariko complained to Sito about Hakuren's group's assignment. Dispatching them as maids was bad enough this time is practically a joke. Researchers? And they're only assigned to Sana's team, too. Well, I can't send a maid to a male student dormitory at the GP, now can I? There are other ways to escort him in secrecy. It's already pretty crowded over there. Around Sana, a lot of people are hiding in the congested traffic of the daily commuting rush. Well, then you should have them guard him from afar. Like we did with him and Tenio? As soon as she heard this phrase, Kariko was shocked and stiffened like someone caught committing a crime. We were just lucky that this time it was someone from our family he encountered. Sito said that calmly in front of Kariko, who seemed like she was about to cry. I don't know why you're so upset about it, but as for how they guard Sana, this scene is flexible. Their orders aren't set in stone. Stimulated by Sito's words, Kariko's expression changed. Sometimes it's better to let everyone air their anger or sadness. There are cases where it's better not to give them the time to think about it. Sito said in response to Kariko, who was lost in thought over the situation with Miki. I know you don't feel sad about Miki, but you hate seeing Sana upset like this. Sito told Kariko. I don't know why you're so worried now. You have the romantic advantage over Sana again. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like him like that. Oh ho ho ho. Hakuren-chan isn't your only enemy, Sito laughed. At this rate you're just about as likely to lose him to Minaho-chan. With the way you keep me busy, I doubt it. Minaho chimed in as she came closer to Kariko and blocked Sito's line of sight. You know she's only picking on you because you're making such strange faces. If anything, she should be showing that kind of face to Sana, not to me. Hey Minaho, get out of the way. It's time for us to go. Minaho said to her in a cold tone. She began to pull Sito by the collar without mercy towards the door. But I want to stay and have some more fun. You've already enjoyed this situation enough. Minaho's tone was quiet, but there was a feeling of intimidation in her voice. Hey Minaho, just give me 5 more minutes. Stop resisting. Okay, what about 3 minutes? Sito's weak voice begged as she was dragged into the other room. Was she just pulling Sito-sama out of here by the neck? Amain said, coming in with Irma to replace the two. She's treating her just like Eri. It's amazing to see such a sight. Oh yeah. Speaking of that, what's up with you, Kariko? Are you still depressed? Amain sat beside Kariko and nudged her shoulder somewhat roughly. What's important is that Sana gets back to normal, right? Even though meeting Tenio seems to have gotten him on the right track, it still hasn't solved the problem. I'm sure there are plenty of things we can still do. Well, as for those maids of ours, that's another story, isn't it? Amain said as she smiled. Kariko looked at Amain, sighed and gave a wry smile. Certainly, there are cases where it's better not to give them the time to think about such things. So, Kariko, what are you going to do specifically? Well, for the time being, I have a pretty good idea. Oh, I wonder if you could tell me. Okay, she whispered to Amain. Oh, that's right. This is the perfect time for that. Sana was starting to feel a sense of discomfort with Kenneth and Rajo, who had seemingly forgotten about mourning over Miki. Kenneth has a light-hearted personality, but he is quite naive, but Rajo is more serious than this usually. They had a totally different atmosphere from the heavy-feeling one of this morning. Kenneth's enthusiasm was unnaturally high. The incident with Miki was very shocking to Sana. Fortunately, by reuniting with Tenio, he had regained some sense of direction, and Sana was able to recover. But, oh, I see, at that time, Sana noticed that Kenneth was desperately trying to find something that could help them forget the situation. Sana's team and Miki's team got along well, even though it was only for a short period. Kenneth's relationship was not yet serious with Miranda and Rajo with Kalichi, but they started to like each other. However, they were directly connected to Miki's case. That's why they felt that they wanted to forget it and put it behind them. Indeed, as a way to forget Miranda and Kalichi, they were trying to get absorbed in other women. Sana remembered the admiration he had for Kariko, which he had been holding on to for more than 10 years, and how he felt when she was far away. So, Sana, should we invite them to go on a date? Yeah. Wait, what now? Apparently they don't seem to be staff from the academy, and fortunately, they seem to be interested in you. If so, we can make up an excuse to guide them through the academy. They will probably say yes to that. And with Seina's abundant finances, we can show them one heck of a good time too. Finances? I have no money, oh. Seina remembered the money he had to buy food that he had when he first came to the dormitory. Oh, right, I haven't even touched that. Since I was at Main's house, I've had everything taken care of for me. With the funds in Seina's account, they could have gone on a pretty fancy date. But they were going to ask out Sita's female officers. It's going to be hard to beat the hospitality inside that ship. I have compared and examined on the internet some of the things I had there. The same dinner I had there would cost almost all my savings, and that Shinju sake, or well, in my case it was a juice, is more than 1,000 times what I have. Of course, he was sure Hakurin wouldn't care about how expensive the date was, but he wasn't so sure about Jayakurin. That's a perfect idea, Kenneth. Ha ha ha. Good. Then soon we will carry out our strategy. Well, if I can distract Kenneth from his feelings with my savings, I guess it's okay. I wonder if chicken is within our budget. Seina thought while watching Kenneth's happy face. But Kenneth's plan was never put into practice. A monitor came up before them. Do you have Yamada Seina with you? The dormitory staff asked. Seina stood and saluted before the monitor. Seina Yamada, this is urgent. Come to Main Kanak and Masaki Kuriko's office immediately. Yes, sir. Seina went to their classroom where he was told he would be getting his second round of bioenhancement immediately. Later, as Seina was sleeping, Hiroshi visited Kurchi in the VR world in which she lived inside of NB. To be exact, his subconscious mind was uploaded there as he slept. An alarm clock began to sound. It was a signal that Seina's body had fallen asleep. An avatar of Seina's sleeping self arrived in the VR world. As usual, as Kurchi waited for Seina by his bed. She would wake him soon and be with him in the VR world as he dreamed. What is this? Miki's father, Hiroshi, was sitting opposite of Kurchi. Hiroshi looked around and looked at Seina's face. The alarm stopped. I hope you don't mind. Kurchi started talking about Miki's personal data transfer, which happened this morning. It was a momentary event. Miki's physical data began to appear suddenly in front of Kurchi's eyes. Kurchi, why did you ask me here? They kept on with their conversation. I wanted to show you this. Miki, who had failed to transfer, left a letter with Kurchi and disappeared. It's my fault. The NB could support 2 astrals at once, but Kurchi had rejected Miki's attempt to move in because she didn't know her. It's okay. Don't blame yourself. This isn't your fault. Hiroshi said while taking Miki's letter. Judging from the transfer log, the transfer was incomplete anyways. There was a high possibility that the connection was lost in the middle. But you know that Miki is a Pinocchio. Miki is still out there somewhere. It's okay. It was an event that you didn't anticipate. It's natural you were confused. Nevertheless, without you we wouldn't have been able to receive this letter. There is a high possibility that even this would have disappeared. Thank you very much. Hiroshi bowed his head deeply towards Kurchi. What do you think of me? What do you mean? What do you think about me running away from my father, to live in such a place? Regardless of his intentions, I'm forced to stay in this place, Kurchi said with a puzzled look. Previously, she had asked this of Eri. However, she wanted to ask someone who had built an AI like her, and Hiroshi was Miki's maker. Hiroshi understood her intentions. Who cares where you live in this world as long as you're living in it? He said smoothly with an ordinary tone. Huh. That is to say, you're a celebrity, you have a job supporting yourself. You can afford to do whatever you want. Your creator is just another person, an ordinary adult. But you're an astral AI. You've still got a lot of living to do. Your life has just started. Even so, you've already become an idol. I think you should be more confident in yourself. Tears came out of Kurchi's eyes. But they were tears of joy, not sorrow. Kurchi wasn't confident that she was her own person. She had trouble erasing the thought that her creator owned her. Kurchi looked around Seina's bedroom. You're not alone. Eri supports your decision 100% and is completely fine with you staying here. You know the consciousness of Sena here affects him in the real world, and right now Sena is very mentally injured. Can I heal Sena? Kurchi asked. Hiroshi smiled and nodded. As a man, I'm envious of Sena and all the attractive women like you who surround him. But as Mickey's father, I have mixed feelings in knowing that she is such a strong rival for Sena's affection. I think Mickey is safe, don't you? Of course. If there is something you need help with, just let me know and I'll help. Thank you. I know it's soon, but can I ask for one now? Sure. Will you change Envy back to normal? Hiroshi regained consciousness as Tsukiko and Hakurio observed him. He got up quickly and looked at the NB. It had returned to its original sphere shape. Well, I got the necessary information. Hakurio, can you come help me, please? I want to get this decrypted as quickly as possible. Hiroshi then headed for his research space and Hakurio followed him. Kurchi was thinking to herself while looking at the sofa where Hiroshi was earlier. I can heal Sena's heart. Just thinking about it made her excited. Even if Sena couldn't see her in the real world, she was glad that she realized that she could do something for Sena. Kurchi hurried to the kitchen. She made sure that the dishes she made for Sena were ready and took a big deep breath and went into Sena's bedroom. She didn't want to wake him up, so she snuck in slowly and quietly and went into the dim room where the curtains were closed. On the full-size bed in the center of the room, she saw Sena fast asleep. Kurchi came up to the edge of the bed and gently reached for Sena and began rocking his body. Sena, Sena. As usual, Sena woke up to Kurchi's voice. The next morning, in Sena's room in Amain's penthouse, the 4 girls of Hakuren's group were wearing maid dresses and Kariko were preparing breakfast in the same way as usual. Kariko-sama, you sure are smothering poor Sena. Jaikirin glared at Kariko wiping the table. Sito-sama's orders were ridiculous. We just wanted Sena to get better. It was purely in his best interest. Well then it doesn't matter where he does that then. Now does it? Aside from that commotion, Sena was communicating with Kenneth behind a privacy wall. Kenneth, are you alright? When I woke up I was back in Amain's house, he said confusedly to Kenneth. Oh Sena, good morning. How's your physical condition? Good morning, Rajo. There's nothing wrong with my body, well, nothing more than usual. I hope you don't mind me moving out. We don't mind. Huh. Actually, I heard from Miranda and Kalichi yesterday. Oh, Miki-senpai's classmates? Yeah, we wanted to hang out, but we didn't want to bum you out. Oh, by the way, when they called you, Hakuren and the others all left too. Kenneth was sad to see them go, but was happy that Miranda and Kalichi had gotten in touch with them. Sena decided not to tell him that Hakuren's people had come with him to Amain's. Amain called Sena from outside the privacy wall. Are you going to stay in there all day? Hurry up, breakfast is going to get cold. Although it had been more than a month since he began living with Amain, Amain's beauty still had such power that it pulled on one's spirit and hypnotized Sena. Her beauty and tone were just like the dance of Yuzum to Sena, and he was Amaterasu. He was lured out of the cave of Iwado that was his privacy wall. Okay, I'm coming right now. Sena said cheerfully, and he lowered the privacy wall and hurried over to Amain. Oh, you finally came out. Did you sleep well last night? Is there anything wrong with your body? No, I'm in good shape. I slept very well, and I feel great. Well, then sit down and eat. Kariko placed miso soup in front of him and sat next to Amain. The table surrounded by Amain, Irma, Hakuren, Jaikirin, Karen, Sueren, invited Sena warmly like the light of sunny days. In contrast to that, in a dimly lit room where test tubes and flasks were the only thing that glistened with light, there were devices like torture devices and various meters. In a laboratory that seemed to come out of a gothic horror movie from Earth, a person in a white lab clothes was up to no good. In a glowing glass tube, sparks of light discharged. It was airy and she had bandages wrapped all over her face and had a crazy look in her eyes. Ha ha ha. Come now, my servant, let's have a party. Sena's envy floated in front of Aries' eerily laughing face. Several light spots began to appear one after another in that tube. Ah ha 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 ha. I'll show them all. Oh? Huh. The lights came on to reveal it was just Aries' office. Good morning. I hope you don't mind that we're here early for work today. Aries' secretary said, coming in. Aries stiffened. Why did you have to disturb me? I was having a moment, she said while unwrapping the bandages and taking off the white coat. It was perfect for the atmosphere of her laboratory, but it looked dumb and severely out of place in her office. Anyway, why are you interrupting me for no good reason? Aries shouted in embarrassment as one of the secretaries went to their desk and launched a monitor. Hey, don't ignore me. I'll get started on my work for the day soon. However, the secretaries were completely ignoring Aries and were quickly absorbed in their work. I'll begin my work soon too. Hey you. Why did you interrupt my moment? I'll begin my work soon as well. Ugh. Hey you. Why did you interrupt my moment? I'll begin my work soon. That's not what I asked. I'll begin my work soon. Hey you. Why did you interrupt my moment? I'll begin my work soon. That's what the other one said. Hey you. Why did you interrupt my moment? I'll begin my work soon. Fine, get started. I hate you. I hate everyone. Aries headed for her seat crying. That day, Sena had a communication class as usual in his room. Well then, see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you soon. When the class was over, Sena briefly talked with Kenneth and Rajo and turned off the monitor. Swearin knocked and came in with a box made of Polonia wood. Excuse me, I have a delivery for you, Sena. Swearin gently placed the Polonia box on the small coffee table next to Sena. Oh, thank you. Oh, is this? Sena was familiar with the box. Yes, it was delivered earlier from Aries-san's studio. Oh, I guess they fixed it. When Sena began to remove the seal on the Polonia box, he was puzzled as to whether to open the lid or not. Huh? What's the matter? Oh, nothing. I'm just not prepared for it to start talking to me in Aries' voice again. Oh, that's right, Swearin smiled a little and laughed. You're laughing. Sena was a bit surprised. Is that so strange? It's not a strange thing to do. But it's strange for you. I've never seen you smile, Swearin. Your face is always so expressionless. This is the first time I've seen you make such a face. Swearin was always quiet and had few facial expression changes compared to the other maids. Hakurin was very intellectual and took the role of leader a lot. Karen was always very active and tomboyish. Jaikirin had a beautiful appearance comparable to a mane mixed with a dangerous atmosphere. Among them, Swearin was very quiet. If she stood silently, she had a presence like a mannequin or a doll. No, less presence than that. So today, Sena was seeing Swearin express herself for the first time. Swearin is the only one among the four that wears glasses, but it feels more like she does it to seem cute rather than intellectual, Sena thought while looking at her. But, indeed, she is also quite a beautiful person. Sena, you shouldn't stare at me like that. It's rude. Swearin suddenly blushed and turned away. Oh. Sorry. Sena blushed and also turned away. Sena was surrounded by women like Kariko and Amain. In order to live with top models and women who were comparable in beauty to famous actresses, it was necessary to numb himself to their beauty and to shield his mind. Otherwise it would be like torture for a young man like Sena. But even with his shields up, the sight in front of him fascinated him. Calm down. Calm down. Sena desperately tried to restore the shield of his heart. When suddenly, hey there, mister. Will you let me out of here? The box shook vigorously as Envy yelled from inside. Oh, sorry about that. Swearin bowed and left the room. Sena opened the lid of the Polonia box. Oh, I thought I was gonna suffocate in there. Envy popped out like a jack in the box. The setting seems to be the same as before. Sena looked for the place where he usually stored Envy's box, but he forgot where that was. Envy, where was your box? Where did I put it before? Envy? Sena wondered why there was no response from Envy. He looked at Envy, but it wasn't there. Where did it go? He looked around, but Envy wasn't in the room, and a few minutes later the first angry shout of the day was heard. After an hour, everyone living in Amain's residence gathered in the living room and was staring at Envy. Why were you poking around my private bathroom? I just thought I'd reconfirm the layout. After all, it's been a while since I've been here. Well then, why are you peeking at people's chest and up their skirts? I was just following my programming, young lady. My personality is set to old man of 100 erections. In fact, it was you, Amain, who originally installed it in me. Everyone glared at Amain. But Amain smiled a fearless smile. Haha. Don't go telling lies now. Oh geez, that Aerie is sure determined to bother us, isn't she? Name one time. Envy said. I can name several. Everyone said at the same time. Aerie is so immature. That reminds me, the chief secretary told me she was acting strangely when he came into work today, Irma said. Envy became transparent and disappeared suddenly. Hey, where did it go? Well, I guess that it has optical camouflage features now. Amain smiled and reached out sideways, grabbing the invisible Envy. How did you find me? Envy appeared in Amain's hand. All of the women there had received a wide variety of advanced training. Everyone blocked off any escape route that Envy had, keeping it trapped with Amain. Irma, you know what to do with it, right? Roger that. Irma jammed a debugging terminal into Envy roughly. Oh! Ow. Please be more gentle with me than that. A pattern like a circuit diagram emerged from Amain's arm and held Envy in place. It was a guardian that had the power to crush Envy very easily. Let's see. It looks like several hundred plugins have been installed recently. Let's see. Old man of 100 erections. Sexual harassment, peeping, and voyeurism. What the heck is the president of the academy thinking, installing crap like that? Can you delete them all? Maybe we better revert it back to its factory default state. But Amain, remember its factory default state? Oh, that's right, it has Aerie-sama's voice. Well, after installing that old man voice, it still didn't begin to have this kind of behavior, so I guess if we just delete the new plugin software and dubious programs, there shouldn't be any more problems. Roger that. Irma began to delete the files when, suddenly Irma stopped her hand and exclaimed. What happened? Where's Seina's friendship folder? It's gone. I erased it. Why did you do that, Kariko? Are you afraid he'll think about any other girl besides you and he? What was that? Kariko glared a terrible look at Hakurin as the others were covering her mouth. Irma, you shouldn't bring up things like that. Irma pointed to the monitor to Amain with an amazed face. What are these strange folders? Strange folders? Is this someone's personal data? It looks like real data. Oh, yeah. It looks interesting. Let's run it for a bit. Amain. Before Kariko could stop them, Irma launched the data. As soon as it started, the envy that Amain held began pulsating and began to take shape. Whose personal data is it exactly? Amain put Envy on the floor and gazed at it with interest. Envy let out a somewhat sexy voice and began deforming into a glittering doll. It looks like Amain, Irma said. Amain's face formed. Normally, personal data, even if it reproduced Amain's stellar figure, couldn't reproduce her presence or appeal. It was just a doll without a soul. However, as Envy changed into Amain, it had enough charm to put all the people there in bondage. It was like the birth of Venus. However, the moment Envy took the shape of Amain's plump breasts, Kariko reflexively kicked Envy Amain in the face. It was a kind of defensive reaction to her not wanting Seina to see such a sight. She began to punch it with tremendous momentum as it deformed like clay from her punches. Oh! No! Kariko-san, stop. Irma panicked and stopped the program. Envy returned to its spherical shape and let out a sound as if the air was escaping a balloon. Kariko looked down at it expressionlessly. Kariko, don't just start suddenly kicking things. You'll break it. That woman. I'm going to kill her, Kariko said. Kariko turned to Irma. Please erase it all. Yes, right away. Irma, terrified by Kariko's murderous intent, reflexively began deleting files right away. What a waste, that was a good copy. It's no joke. As far as can tell, it wasn't modified from an existing AV models file. It's a shame, I really want to check and see what Aerie programmed that thing to do, Not going to lie. I came a little, said Jaikirin. Irma and Hakurin looked at her with strange expressions. That's just how pretty Amain's data was. It's rare to see such work from a philosopher. And all of our data seems to be in here. This isn't a joke, Kariko yelled. Amain covered her mouth with her hand. Let's vote. Those wishing to see more, raise your hand. A main said to the others. That makes 6 people against Kiriko. Seina is a minor. He will have to leave. Kiriko, go take Seina into the other room and wait for us. A main removed her hand from Kiriko's mouth. Wait a minute. What? Kiriko, you want to see it too, don't you? Be honest. Kiriko looked around at everyone except Jaikirin, who hid herself from her view. Fine, but delete it once you're done. Is everyone okay with that? They all nodded. Right, well then, let's hurry up and check inside. Kiriko took Seina and left the room. They're like little boys taking porn to school to show their friends when no one's around. Hey Seina, you have schoolwork to do, why don't you get started on it? Seina sat down, launched a monitor and began working. Kiriko left to go check out the personal data. Approximately 2 hours later, Seina finished his work for the day. Kiriko went to check up on him, and when she went back into the living room, she noticed NB on the sofa. I deleted all the suspicious things. But I made a backup of our personal data, Irma said. Kiriko headed to the kitchen to make dinner with Karen. And everyone except Jaikirin headed for their own room. Everyone was still mentally exhausted, so nobody noticed the situation happening between Seina and Jaikirin. Seina and Jaikirin were never supposed to be alone in the same room. Wow, this sure is something. It doesn't even have a scratch on it after that. I wonder if they uninstalled that old man voice. Seina looked down at the NB on the sofa with a puzzled expression. So, Seina, how would you like it if I put my personal data back on that NB of yours? What? Oh! Jaikirin, when did you get in here? Seina jolted up from the sofa surprised. You know, even though they deleted it, I think I could make you a copy of all of our personal data if you wanted. Do you think you would ever use them? Jaikirin said, smiling seductively at Seina. He sensed something strange. His self-defense instinct went off. He was on red alert. Sounds interesting, but I'd rather you didn't, Seina said. He got up and started walking away up the stairs to escape from her. But when he got up the stairs, he heard a voice like a ghost behind him coming from Jaikirin. Please don't be scared. It was her usual glossy and quiet tone, but for some reason it made Seina's heart strangely uneasy. Jaikirin. When Seina turned around, what he saw looked like a silhouette of a backlit sunset. Jaikirin's overwhelming beauty disappeared, and it seemed that he saw her true essence. Jaikirin was standing like a child who stood as if she was abandoned and ostracized. Seina caught sight of that image of Jaikirin. She looks like I did in the past. Seina was well aware of his bad luck and of Jaikirin's beauty, but not its essence, or the suffering and loneliness it brought her. Of course there was a possibility that it was a trap of Jaikirin's. Seina had no choice but to try to shake her off and run away. Is there something wrong? Looking back at Seina, Jaikirin caressed his head strangely. Seina's expression was so serious-looking that Jaikirin was caught off guard. Seina did not answer Jaikirin's question, but he approached her and got closer than he had ever before. It was the same distance that Kiriko, Tsukiko, Kion, and Tenio stayed when young Seina was sad or in pain. Of course, Jaikirin was used to people coming up close to her, but this was the first time Seina had done it. What's wrong, Seina? Jaikirin was terribly confused. She suddenly had a strong urge to attack him. Because of Seina, something had been triggered in her unconscious mind where a tremendous destructive power was hidden. Kiriko and Karen went into the kitchen and started cooking dinner. What's wrong with Eri? I can't believe she put such things in Seina's NB. It's both high-functioning and useless. Well, the personal data on it was super sophisticated. It could be used even for the highest degree of medical simulation. I never heard of any personal data that could eat and excrete before. Well, Eri is a philosopher, so it makes sense. I bet that damn thing could even get pregnant if she wanted it to. She probably only left that out for moral reasons. The clothes selection was great too, wasn't it? Karen remembered. Certainly, there were tremendous amounts of data from underwear to accessories. There was data of Kiriko inside of NB and data of everyone else too, and a wide variety of costumes. One of the reasons why Kiriko took a long time to come back to the living room was because she was playing dress-up with the data. But there is no reason Seina should have such data, especially if he's taking it around in public. Yeah, I'd hate to have that data stolen. I think the only one of us who wouldn't mind is Jayakiran. Wait a second. Finally, Kuriko noticed that Jayakiran and Sena had been left alone in the living room together. They ran toward the living room. Karen soon noticed Kuriko's reasons for running and followed her. That girl. I bet she is trying to give him back our personal data. Kuriko, who had run into the living room with terrible momentum, was puzzled by the strange atmosphere of the two facing each other and stopped. What? Karen covered Kuriko's mouth and held her back as she tried to approach the two. Kuriko saw that Karen was nervous and froze. Karen and Kuriko weren't alone in the living room. Almost at the same time, Amain, Irma, Hakurin, and Swearin also came running in. Like Karen, Hakurin and Swearin also noticed the appearance of Jayakiran and instantly froze. But the problem was Amain and Irma. Please don't do it. At that time, Karen, Hakurin, and Swearin saw Amain and prayed for her. Fortunately, Amain, who had sharp intuition, instantly read Jayakiran's strange appearance and Karen's expression, and grabbed Irma and led her back out of the room. Kuriko left too. What's going on, Karen? Kuriko asked Karen using a special radio normally used during battle. But Karen did not reply. She and Hakurin were staring at Swearin's face. A few minutes later, as Swearin looked at Jayakiran slowly, the attack impulse faded away from Jayakiran and she fainted into Sena's embrace. Everyone but Sena was gathered over Jayakiran's unconscious body as she laid in bed. What do you mean? Well, I thought that something like this might happen. Jayakiran is holding a darkness in the bottom of her heart. She is a complex girl. It seems to be the root of her charm. Even though I have a sharp intuition like Amain, it still was able to hurt me. Karen pressed her left arm as she said that and sighed. There was no visible scar, but she had been hurt by Jayakiran there in the past. Jayakiran really dislikes others getting deep into her psyche. No, dislikes may be putting it a bit wrong. It's more like something lives down there and it likes to hurt people who get close enough to see it. So basically, we left a child to play carefree around a landmine. That's a good way to put it, Amain. Even for us who have known her a long time, only Karen and Sena and one other person has ever seen it. Did that person end up hurt like Karen? Yes, with Sena-sama, who knows what would have happened. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, everyone. Everyone was surprised by Jayakiran's voice as she got out of bed. She stared at Kuriko like a carnivore would its prey. But I'm glad the cat is out of the bag. Jayakiran smiled with a demonic appearance that was more powerful than it had ever been before. Jayakiran, I don't want to interview you about your past, but is Sena going to be safe with you and your condition around? Kuriko stood up and glared back at her to resist the intimidation she was feeling. When it came to Sena, she was like a mother bear. Amain got away from Kuriko and Jayakiran and moved to a place out of the potential damage zone. It's like watching a kaiju battle about to go down, isn't it? I'll ask again, is Sena going to be okay? Well, he's already been to the inside of my mind. I was honestly surprised when he did. I tried reflexively to kill Sena, but as soon as that was said, Kuriko's defensive instinct raged a tremendous momentum. I will withdraw the previous statement. It would be better to say it's like waiting to watch a shooting match between two large mecha. Irma said with a carefree tone. Hey Amain, can you two protect us if things get ugly? The three girls asked. Why don't you try using NB as a shield? No, don't tell them to do that. NB will be destroyed, Irma said. Kuriko groaned. Jayakiran suddenly broke her serious expression and laughed. Please calm down, Kuriko-sama. You will never have to worry about me hurting Sena due to my condition. How do you know that? Because I'm not prepared or qualified to hurt people who manage to step that deep into my heart. Kuriko understood. She was drawn to him by his bad luck, but the strength of his heart had changed the outcome of the situation with Jayakiran just like it had with Widow. She had deep feelings for him that were close to admiration and respect. Jayakiran and Widow were like a living venom that destroyed others. But Sena's personality gave him the strength to not be poisoned by it. Has the darkness in Jayakiran's heart acknowledged Sena? Yes, Jayakiran said as if she was reading Kuriko's mind. You knew what I was thinking, all right then. Well, Karen, it's getting late. Let's hurry and prepare dinner. Kariko diverted her eyes from Jaikirin and went for the exit. Kariko, do you understand what Jaikirin meant? Amain said, stopping Kariko. She acknowledged Sena in the deepest part in her heart. So, Kariko stared at Amain strangely. Kariko's insensitivity about it made sense to Amain because it was the most obvious thing in the world to her, and all she cared about was whether Jaikirin hurt Sena or not. As the matter was settled, her vigilance toward Jaikirin had diminished. How do you not understand when I say this? He is the first person of the opposite sex that I have allowed to enter the bottom of my heart. What? Kariko finally realized what it meant with astonishment and looked at Jaikirin again. The power that Sena accumulated since childhood attracted only troublesome women. That was also part of Sena's bad luck. Shit, of all the girls here who was a challenger for Sena's affection, Kariko thought Jaikirin was the biggest threat in the beauty department. Jaikirin. Thus again, the giant mecha fight broke out again. I'm so hungry. At that time, in the living room, Sena was holding onto a sofa cushion as he endured his hunger. Oh my. In Washu's lab, Sita was reading the report on the incident that Minaho had given her with interest as she drank tea. Washa came out of a door with Noik supporting her by the shoulder. How's the astral link going, Washa-chan? I just finished the transition to the core. Washu, who sat on a big cushion, smiled at Sito. Her left shoulder had changed into the same type of crystal as the hull of Ryooki, in which the fetus-like body of a bean-sized animal was sealed. Speaking of Sena, he sure is having a hard time lately. I don't like it. Aren't you interested in why women keep being drawn to him? I've tried to find that out, but I don't have any solid answers yet, do you? I'm surprised. To be honest, it's quite interesting that Sena's probability bias is managing to attract people so much. I should have made him my guinea pig while he was here on Earth. Washa grinned, holding her fists up in a chaotic manner. This is a report that just came in earlier. Sito moved the monitor plate she was reading in front of Washu's eyes. It was about what happened with Jaikirin. Oh, what a splendid encounter, but as I expected, it seems that everything worked out smoothly. Washu finished checking and roughly poked the monitor plate with her little finger. The monitor plate stopped in front of Noik this time. Oh! Jaikirin and Kariko seemed to be giving him quite a hard time. Noik stared at Sito, knowing full well Sito was to blame for this. Noik was also Sito's daughter, and like Minaho, whom she felt was like her older sister, she understood how tiring it was to deal with Sito's shenanigans. Especially because she had to deal with Mahoshis on a daily basis. The two would often meet up with food and alcohol in each other's private rooms several times a year just to vent their daily frustrations. Washa saw a glimpse of Sito. Sito, who noticed it, smiled back. Ha ha. Hey Sito, if you want I can check on things again. Did you find out something about the astral link? That's a secret. Sorry, Ms. Goddess. I think it is unnecessary to worry about because there is almost no possibility, but, well, what do you think about adopting Kariko? Washa noticed Noik's reaction. Noik was sent an order to keep an eye on Tenchi's house, which had quite a concentration of military power, and it seemed like she was suggesting that might happen with Sena. Indeed. That would be interesting. I thought you would say that. I think this daughter of mine is going to be made into a different concept from Ryooki. All I can say is, well, look forward to it. When Washa said that, there was a sound of a bell attached to the door leading to the Masaki family house. Ryooki and Sasami came in. Noik, it's about time for lunch, Sasami said, pausing at the door. Maya. Ryooki, who was on her shoulder, suddenly ran towards Washu when she noticed something. Ryo-chan. I have already talked about it, so it's fine. Washa beckoned to Sasami, who tried to stop Ryooki. Sito also smiled nicely and nodded. Grandmother, are you busy today as well? Sasami asked as she came running over to Washu. We can do something together around noon. Yay! Oh! Sasami clung to Washu's shoulder and noticed Ryooki watching something. There was a crystal on Washu's shoulder at the end of her line of sight. Washu, your shoulder, what's wrong? Washu smiled to get rid of Sasami's worries. I'm planning to build a new ship. This child is its core. For who? Maya. Maya. No, Ryooki. This child hasn't been born yet. She can't play with you. Washu looked into the crystal and pulled a squealing Ryoki off and gave her to Sasami. Sasami stroked Ryo's head to calm her down. This child will be Seina's ship, but it's a secret. Oh, is that why we haven't seen you for dinner in so long? I have to transfer it to its eggshell today. I will be up for dinner tomorrow. Yay! Noik, can you help me prepare the meal? Okay, let's go, Sasami-chan. Sasami took off with Noik and they went back to the living room. When Sasami and Noik went out, Washu scooted up to Sito really close. I'll send what I'm planning to you later. Sito got close to Washu's side and supported her body by holding her arm. This crystal is troublesome, but this is comfortable. When she said that, Sito picked up Washu and took her down the stairs.